Now that this crazy year is finally coming to an end, I spent some time thinking about my investment strategy for 2024 to hopefully further grow the portfolio I share with my wife. Depending on your own risk tolerance and goals, it may help you get some ideas for the coming year. I'm also going to tell you my personal, unqualified return predictions for each of our investments in 2024, just like I did in previous years. And just so you know a bit about me, to put things into context first, my wife and I are in our early 30s and started pursuing financial independence in Austria about 7 years ago. Due to our low expenses and decent income, we're able to save about 70% of our monthly income on average. That enabled us to set aside and invest a nice chunk of money every single month, getting us closer and closer to our early retirement goal, also due to how well markets performed. We follow a core satellite strategy where the vast majority of our money goes into a core investment, the one we feel the most confident in to be able to grow our wealth long term, and 2 smaller satellites, either for a bit of diversification or where we're willing to take on more risk with a smaller amount of money. Let's begin with the core, which will remain our core investment in 2024. Stocks in the form of passive, broad-based, low-cost ETFs, which have performed exceptionally well for us this year. We're planning to hold these for decades, ideally forever, while only selling whatever we need to cover our living expenses once we're retired. And even though I said ETFs as in plural, we're actually just buying a single one. In my opinion, a single world ETF is more than enough to cover stocks globally and likely the best choice for most investors who tend to flip-flop from one hyped up stock or ETF to the next one and end up underperforming the market as a whole. Speaking of that, in case you want to see a comparison of the best world ETFs going into 2024, make sure you check out this recent video of mine afterwards. The one ETF we've been buying every single month for a few years is and will remain the Vanguard FTSE All-World in its accumulating version, which enables us to diversify our investment into over 3,600 stocks from all across the world, all within a single ETF. The vast majority, 80% of our monthly savings, will be going here in 2024, in part as an automated recurring investment at the start of each month, and then whenever we have more cash available, which in my case fluctuates a lot since I'm self-employed. You can find the best low-cost brokers for ETFs in Europe linked down below in the description, by the way, which is a great way to support me if you'd like to. And while you're down there, don't forget to tap the like button if you're enjoying the video and to subscribe if you haven't yet. As for our return expectations for our ETF, I usually mention that I'm expecting long-term average returns of around 7% per year, with lots of ups and downs in between. This return heat map should give you an idea of how much these can fluctuate on a monthly basis. Now, 2023 has been an exceptionally strong year for ETFs, going far beyond my expectations with a return of over 16% in our case. Then again, let's not forget that we were down 13% in 2022, so we basically recovered from that. But I do think 2024 will be a good year as well, since it's an election year in the US and central bank interest rates are expected to start dropping again. As a result, my unqualified prediction is that we'll see 8% returns for well-diversified, low-cost global ETFs like the one my wife and I hold. Obviously, take my expectations with a grain of salt. I don't have a crystal ball and can't predict the future either. I'm just telling you what I think could happen. Either way, you should be willing to hold ETFs long term. I also believe we'll see plenty of swings in both directions, so 2024 could be a great year to cost average into ETFs, especially if you're uncertain about investing too much at once. As for us, whichever direction the market moves, we'll be sticking to our strategy and buying more shares every single month with 80% of our monthly savings. Okay, now we discussed the core of our strategy, let's talk about our 2 satellites, as in smaller alternative investments for 2024. The first of which is going to remain peer-to-peer lending. This asset class has been part of my portfolio since 2018, since it has a low correlation to the stock market, providing us with some extra diversification, and it can generate a high percentage of monthly cash flow. At an internal rate of return of 9.41%, I'm quite happy with how my investments here performed this year. As a result, I'm planning to invest an additional 10% of our monthly savings on 5 platforms in 2024. Escatit, Mintos, Income, Buy-Invest and Lande. I am currently considering adding a 6th one as well, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll let you know once I made a decision. As for my return predictions, I'm expecting a yearly return of 9% from my investments in peer-to-peer lending in 2024. Okay, now let's get to my second smaller satellite investment, aka the Wild West of volatility. I'm of course talking about my holdings in the 2 largest crypto assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. To be honest, I always feel a bit strange talking about these, as I don't want you guys to start taking on excessive amounts of risk perhaps inspired by what I'm doing with my money. After all, the high potential returns come with a lot of risk and painful crashes, many of which I've experienced myself since first buying Bitcoin in 2017. But I still want to share my thoughts with you and be open about what I'm doing, so here we are. While many people like to speculate with single stocks or other investments in the hopes of generating higher returns, something that's very unlikely compared to just buying passive market ETFs over the long run, by the way, I prefer to allocate 10% of my investments to this sector, but that's just my personal preference. I've been able to take out my initial investment several times over, so including these two digital assets has been working very well for me since 2017, giving our portfolio a nice boost over the years. Will that always be the case? Maybe not. Honestly, who knows? But 10% is an amount I'm personally willing to bet and take higher risk with. In 2024, I'm planning to continue cost averaging 10% of our monthly savings into Bitcoin and Ethereum, while potentially realizing some profits along the way if prices were to move quickly. I'll be using the Netherlands-based exchange BitWWCE to do that, linked down below if you'd like to support me, which offers some of the lowest trading fees starting at only 0.15 to 0.25%. They're launching recurring investments as well with the same low fee structure next week. Here's a quick peek based on some screenshots they sent me in case you're interested. That's something I'd been waiting for to automate this process, since other exchanges charge 1.5 to 2% in fees for recurring investments. So I'll definitely be using this feature in the coming year. And here you directly own whatever crypto you buy and can withdraw it anytime, for example to a hardware wallet. My favorite being the Ledger Nano. Here's the thing, if you have over a few thousand euros in different crypto assets, buying a hardware wallet and moving the majority of your funds there is definitely worth investing in my opinion, to keep your funds safe compared to just leaving everything on exchanges. But if you don't want to mess with any of that, there are other ways as well. For example, you can now add a small crypto allocation using the same broker you use for stocks or ETFs. One option is to search for an ETP or ETN, which stands for Exchange Traded Product or Node, on just ETF. For example, I would probably pick the WisdomTree Physical Bitcoin ETN and the CoinShares Physical Ethereum ETN. You can then find either of them using the ISIN number or ticker symbol on Interactive Brokers, for example. Another even easier option to gain some exposure is by using the Germany-based broker Trade Republic, where you can even set up commission-free recurring investments. Here you're investing in each crypto directly, which is kept in a segregated company exclusively for you, the Trade Republic Custody Limited, based in Vienna, Austria. However, you should keep in mind that you're sadly not able to withdraw your crypto anywhere else, at least not yet. So you would need to sell it using Trade Republic as well further down the line. And while there are no yearly fees compared to exchange traded products or nodes, and you only pay a flat €1 fee for direct orders, you tend to pay a 1% higher price when buying compared to a crypto exchange like BitWWCE, and there's a 1 to 2% spread between buy and sell prices on the broker. Still, this is most likely the easiest way to gain some crypto exposure if you're looking for it, especially if you're a beginner and you don't want to deal with proper self-custody. Now, in line with my expectations for this year, Bitcoin and Ethereum pretty much exploded. But let's be honest, that's also in part because they crashed hard in 2022, which is why they're still far off their all-time highs. As for 2024, my unqualified return predictions for these two assets is that they will regain and pass their record highs by the end of the year, as this is a halving year where this has happened historically, with an 80% return for Bitcoin based on where we currently stand, perhaps ending at a price of 70,000, and 110% for Ethereum, which I could see ending the year at 4,300 euros. But I'm also expecting plenty of painful crashes along the way, so just be ready for that. And obviously there's no guarantee for any of this, we're still talking about a high risk bet here. What I'm trying to say, please don't allocate a percentage of your portfolio you're not willing to lose in a worst case scenario to this sector. Clearly, I believe the potential long-term returns outweigh the risks, otherwise I wouldn't have any money here. But it's definitely not for everyone, so please be careful. Okay, by now you should have a good idea of my investment strategy going into 2024. 80% of our monthly savings will keep going into passive low-cost ETFs, since this is the investment we have the highest conviction in based on historical data and is the core of our portfolio. 10% will be invested on a handful of peer-to-peer lending platforms, something we've been doing since 2018, and the last 10% will keep going into our highest risk bucket, our investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum, which have served us very well on average since 2017. Oh, that reminds me, one thing I did not mention is the risk-free portion of our portfolio, which we of course also have. We like to keep at least 6 months, a maximum of 12 months of living expenses as cash reserves for emergencies, especially now that we're parents of a beautiful 14-month-old girl. We keep most of that money on Trade Republic, about 15,000 euros right now, since they're paying 4% interest per year, secured by a 100,000 euro bank deposit guarantee. Since we're able to deposit or withdraw our money anytime without any fees or lockups, we have found this to be the best option for us for any funds we don't want to expose to investment risks and market volatility. Alright, what I showed you today is the strategy my wife and I will use to hopefully get us even closer to financial independence in 2024. In a year, we'll see if I got anywhere near reality with my return predictions or if I was completely off. While I hope you got some ideas from today's video, you still need to figure out what makes the most sense for you based on your own risk tolerance and time horizon. If you're still at the beginning of your investment journey, I recommend starting with an ETF first, in which case this playlist should definitely help. I would only start looking at alternative investments once you got that figured out. But now I'm curious to know your investment strategy in 2024. Are you planning to change anything compared to what you've been doing this year? Let me know in the comments. Before you take off, don't forget to gently tap the like button if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe if you haven't yet. You can find all the investment tools I mentioned linked down below in the description, which is a great way to support me if you'd like to. Also, please don't forget that none of what I mentioned today was of course meant as investment advice. I'm just sharing my personal opinion based on my own experience as an investor. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and until next time.